Daughter, it's 5 o'clock. So, have you guys had a chance to read the minutes yet?
I did, and I gave Kerry comments, and she made the changes.
Okay,
I'm all set with them.
you're all set.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second?
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
So, we're signing the warrants. We didn't have any refunds.
Yeah, you missed it, actually. We have a refund right here for $94.25 from, with the closing. Was they had paid the bill and they
I
had,
already did get it twice.
yeah.
All right, give that one back to me, I'll sign that. Next thing is Superintendents Vacation carryover. Do you
Should be on your desk.
see it somewhere?
It was in the... No, it's not in those.
Well,
It was right on top.
The one we need to sign is on top. Oops, crap. I missed this one. I have to scribble on the National Grid one too. I missed that one.
You don't have to say, you can say.
Tommy's the only one that hit all of them the first time.
I don't see the rebate in there.
It was right on top when I
You
gave it
put
to
it right
the
on
refund.
top.
It was the top thing in that.
Oh,
stack.
okay. Oh, that's, okay. I thought that was the
$94.
bill. Yeah, 94.
Two of these.
All right, so. My seniority date is approaching and I'll not be able to use my vacation time. At this point, I have 18 plus extra days I wish to carry over to 2021, 22, 23 calendar. I am submitting this request to the West Bridgewater Water Commissioners. So he has 18 days that he wants to carry over from this year into next year's calendar year. Is there anybody wants to discuss that? I think we already discussed that last week with him, didn't we?
Yeah, we talked about it, and with all the stuff we have going on with the PFAS and everything, we really can't tell them to just take some time and get away. So, I think we kinda should let them carry it over.
I don't have any problem with it. Tom?
Nope.
Okay, do I hear a motion to allow him to carry it over?
Yeah, I'll move to allow, how many days was it?
18.
Allow Wayne to carry 18 days of vacation over.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye.
Rick, can you just move the vacant principal clerk position up before you get into all the people?
Okay. You wanna
Sure.
interview her
Yeah,
first?
this is Alicia. She's just hired. She's gonna be the new part-time principal clerk, and came in tonight to meet you guys, and she will be meeting with the Board of Selectmen on Wednesday, and she starts on Monday, right?
Right.
Yep, 25th.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi. Right?
Hi.
I don't know if you guys have any questions. I left her resume on your desk for each of you to look at.
You have any questions, sir?
Nope.
No, I mean, Kerry, you interviewed her, you,
Linda and I both
Both did,
interviewed her.
right, so
Yeah,
you're
down
happy?
here last week. Mhm.
and you're happy with the selection? And
Mhm.
You're the one that has to work with her.
yeah, I mean, that's,
I have one question.
Yeah.
Are you related to anybody in the West Bridgewater Water Department?
I am not.
Okay.
good call.
All right. Well, welcome aboard, I guess.
Thank you. Thank you for
And
having
you'll
me.
be starting Monday, they said?
Monday, yes.
Okay, very good. You'll have good leadership there with Kerry, I'm sure. She knows what's going on. All right.
I think you need to vote. I think you need to vote, because I think this will.
Oh, we have to vote on it?
Will they ratify ours?
That's correct.
Okay, I move we hire Alicia Corbett for the, what was it, it's the right
Part-time position?
Principal clerk.
Principal clerk position.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now you have to meet with the selectmen on Wednesday, I guess?
Yes, yes.
Watch out for the cameras.
Yeah, me too.
All right. Well, I guess we're starting old business already. Stations 1, 2, 4. Engineering on pilot study for the new treatment plant, but
Let's
he isn't here,
Let's
so.
say he left a set of notes, I don't know if you have those over there, but he basically said for those, all the Tater and Howard stuff, he's basically tabling them till the next meeting, because he was supposed to have them come in, but when he knew he wasn't gonna be here, he decided to not have them come in.
Okay,
So we might just do those all at the next
Mm-hmm.
meeting.
Station 3, we're gonna talk to the engineers about the treatment for the PFAS.
And then the replacement well asset management grant and the Walnut Street tank are all those that he said to have them.
Yeah, so
We'll
anything,
just deal with that at the next meeting.
okay. Walnut Street tank, that's on hold, Lincoln Street, so I guess we're all the way down to Lincoln Street.
Yep.
Okay,
Wayne has some notes on the Lincoln Street, I don't know if you want to read them before.
Did I get it? Or no, you have that right there.
It's in your hand, yeah.
Lincoln Street, what do you say about that? Larry Silver should be attending, yep. 2 sets of each of these recess.
Want to have Larry present?
Do you need that? Or
Yeah, well, I can set one up, it's easier probably, right?
it's totally up to you. I can hold it.
I don't think you want to carry that thing over.
Okay. So, Larry, are you ready to tell us about this project?
Well, I'm ready to tell you about the part that I'm responsible for, and I'll do my best to tell you about the part I'm not responsible for.
Okay,
And, because I wasn't clear to me that there wouldn't be anybody here from McMahon.
you
So-
thought somebody else was gonna be here too?
Well, I thought so.
Okay.
That's okay though. I mean, so essentially, Silver Engineering is responsible for the site development. Okay, so everything related to the site itself, picking up the water from where it's coming in from the relocated Lincoln Street into the site is really where our responsibilities are. But we have talked with McMahon and coordinated with McMahon while they were doing their work, so I certainly can address some of it.
So you're only involved on
On the on-site kind of part of it.
on-site, not the road work?
Yeah,
I
but,
think you had said that when you came in first.
Yeah,
When you
yeah.
went over the plan for this anyway.
yeah, but, you guys, you have a copy of the plan, I think.
Paul, I gotta call you back. I'm in a meeting.
Okay, ready?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so obviously we know where the site is, it's on Lincoln Street, on the western side of Lincoln Street itself. And this here on our plan is where the relocation of Lincoln Street is coming down in here. This is the existing Lincoln Street. And it's right where it comes back into the current layout that is where our connection is being made. So the 12-inch line that's coming down Lincoln Street, we'll be tapping an 8-inch off of there and bringing the 8-inch in through this driveway across into the site itself. We will be, as you can see, that we have little blow-ups here showing that what we're proposing in terms of our hydrant locations. The main water line coming into the site itself would be coming in through the front here. That's where the sprinkler room is and so forth on this side here. But we are providing for hydrants around it for fire protection and so forth on the exterior as well. So really that's where the responsibility is that we have from our site plan point of view. This is all based upon delivery of a 12-inch line to this point, which is on the McMahon plans coming from the intersection of West Street and West Center. So I mean, then this.
How many rises are gonna be around? Are you looping the building with the 8-inch and?
We're bringing it around. We were not looping it per se. We were bringing in the water line here, down across, over in here and up to here.
Okay, so how many entrances do you have for sprinkler lines into the building?
We have one place where sprinklers are coming in, that's right in here.
So it'll just be one 8-inch going in?
One 8-inch going in.
And that'll handle that whole building?
That is what we have been told, that it's sufficient for that building.
Well, how many rises? There'll only be that one riser? One 8-inch riser?
That is what we've been told by the building architect.
Really? Most of the buildings up on Main Street, they have like 6 or 8, leads going in around the buildings.
This is similar to the way that it was designed for the one up on Elm Street, Bridgewater as well. Same designer.
Is there a pump in there?
I don't believe that there is a pump. But I can't tell you that I can tell you firsthand on that. Because we were dealing with exterior and delivery to the building itself. I don't know who their sprinkler contractor is, either, because that's probably relying a lot on whatever that he comes forward with too. No one has indicated to the contrary that, that the layout as it is and as they have agreed to has any issues as it relates to pressure or volume for the building. I know that they did some testing over at the where they were doing the tie-in for the 12-inch line, and I think everything that they did was based on the results from that. But like I say, our coordination point was here. We're taking it in from there, and then our coordination point with the building designer is right at this point here. As far as the number of hydrants, we felt that, you know, it's the kind of situation where, you know, you definitely wanna have, you know, hydrants on the corners of this large building. I mean, 350,000 square feet of building is a lot of building.
That's why I'm surprised there's only one entrance for that. All those buildings on Manley Street, I'd say, like Chadwick's and Foster must have 15. They loop the building and they go like, there's tons of them. Kerry, how many
Is there a low pressure
you know how
issue
many-
there?
entrances they have for rises and that?
Off the top of my head, I don't, I can look it up though. They have a lot though.
Oh, I know.
What I can do is have the building architect actually provide his report and their evaluation as to how they got to the point that they're at, and to confirm that, you know, that is sufficient for what they're looking to do.
Because even the small buildings have like 1 6-inch, and the bigger buildings have 12-inch, some of them, and they'll have like 5 of them.
Seems like an awful lot.
I know, but
Can we always bring it in one location and split the systems up into different parts of the building? So
Right.
it just depends on how much they're planning on in at one time.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, to increase that flow, if for some reason he can't justify why, you know, he's okay with it this way, you know, we can certainly upgrade it to a 12 here, that's one way of doing it. And then multiple points coming
I
in.
just don't, I hate to see it under engineered, because we have a building up there now that they had to, you know, right behind Bill Cavadis's house, the one that's down in the hill, down the
Yeah.
hill. They had to put a pump in there. I think they brought an 8-inch in, wasn't big enough. Then the fire rating wasn't enough, so they put a pump in there, and they have to test it once a year for the insurance companies to bid on the premiums.
Right,
Set off all the alarms on the street. As soon as they turn that on, it creates such a
so
suction.
the drawdown.
Yeah. On the drops of pressure and all the alarms go off. It's just a nightmare because it's because of the pump, you know. If it was brought in with a bigger line,
Right.
12-inch, they wouldn't need the pump and they wouldn't have that surge, you know. So,
Right.
um,
Well, what I can do though is I can make sure that that information
it's,
is, I know that it's been submitted, I believe, because they submitted for a building, to the building department, so I'm sure that actually
okay,
was
it's,
submitted
up
as part
on
of that.
Main Street too, we have 2 water tanks that are owned by the buildings, that they didn't have enough water, they couldn't get the water to the building fast enough, so they store it on site,
Mhm.
and then they have pumps at the bottom of the tanks,
Right,
which, I'm looking at this building and the square footage, I'm just surprised to see an 8-inch line like that.
you know, on the one on Elm Street, in Bridgewater, that was 8-inch, and that was also at the end of that line. Because if you think about where that is, on Elm Street, that was just before the Westbrook,
That's
right at the Westbrook
That's an
line.
8 in Elm Street?
What's that, please?
Is that an 8 in Elm Street?
In Elm Street
What is that?
itself, I believe it was a 12 in Elm Street, and then went to an 8 coming in the building.
Yeah, 'cause that's
Similar to this.
Because that building is basically right on the road for the entrance, where you gotta loop through that whole
Right,
back of the lot. There would be a bit of you'd have a bit more head loss going from the street into the building
right.
on this than that, but that's still,
How many square feet is that building in Bridgewater, Larry?
Same thing, same building,
350,000
350,000 square feet.
Same thing,
Yeah, I joke about that one because I tell people it's the first time I've ever designed a site where the building was bigger than the site. It feels that way, doesn't it, when you're there?
you know,
It's an enormous building. And
Um,
there's a lot to consider. I mean, just think about like a roof runoff alone is 8 acres. You know, so you have to deal
The
with
building
all that.
covers 8 acres?
Yeah. So that's, so the roof drains on here, a tremendous amount of roof drains coming down from this here.
What kind of product are they gonna be storing in there?
You know, they don't know. And the reason for that is that, believe it or not, even at 350,000 square feet, you're really doing a spec building. You don't have a signed contract with someone. In fact, on the one in Bridgewater, it wasn't until a year and a half later, maybe, that they actually had commitments on part of it. Amazon's in part of it, half of that one, and the other half, I don't know if I know that they had been talking to Home Depot. I don't know if Home Depot actually did sign the lease on that first, on the other half.
What would that be, for a store or for?
Just storage. I mean,
Just
I
storage.
think that what's happened is certainly COVID accelerated the change in how people do business. And so the shortage, now when you start seeing all the supply chain issues that, you know, that you're hearing about with all these containers sitting out there in the harbors and stuff, and I saw them, I was in San Diego last week, and there were 2 big ones out there, sitting out there, the whole week I was there. They're sitting out there in the harbor. So what's happening is you get that, then you get the delivery, you get the truck delivery, and then the other issue is you need the warehousing for the goods. So that's what's triggering a lot of the development of warehouses throughout the region. And there's a real shortage of them, as a matter of fact, to meet what they expect the demand to be. We have another one in Bridgewater, it's a 100,000 square foot one, that's right off of Route 24, or the old Beagles Club, I don't know if you remember that is. But right next to where the Mass DOT has their buildings right off the highway.
Oh, yeah.
There's one over there facing Route 24, 495 exit.
Is that the same development?
No, that one's actually Claremont, the one that we did all those other projects for over on that side. But this one here is the same developer as the one in Bridgewater, the Batello.
Now, when you were in before, I thought there was some kind of a different road that the trucks were gonna be able to use to get into that site.
Yeah, that was
Has that
originally,
been taken out?
yeah, that has been. Mass DOT would not allow for the road to come in from the shell.
Yeah.
Because this site has a 60-foot right of way going out to that direction, so that was the planned entrance for vehicles coming in from 24. But now we had to add this other driveway in order to take them after the lights and bring them in on this side. Because to me, it still would have been better to come in the other way, but Mass DOT is not.
Yeah,
was not
because
fond of it.
before, you didn't have that entrance at all.
No, we had.
You just had the
yeah.
entrances down here and the other,
Yes.
because that was, we were trying to figure out when this first came up,
Yeah,
why did all of a sudden this water main disappear? That was in, because that main
well,
was.
because
shut
the
down
one
plans
main would have
before.
come this way and went in that direction.
Yeah,
at that
because
point.
we had that one
Yeah,
before.
but this,
and it
this
disappeared.
driveway has to be built to come in this way. And this will also allow for, if there's a potential retail site on
On the
the
other side.
side over here, so it'll be in between the 2 of them. And that's the direction that we've been going.
So, when you were, I guess, somebody was in to talk to the selectmen, there's gonna be a sidewalk put down the Lincoln Street?
I guess there was a commitment to put a sidewalk on the easterly side of Lincoln Street, down, all the way down to South Elm.
Okay,
Which is really problematic, because as you get down that towards South Elm Street, I mean, you got, those houses that were just built down there are right on the edge of a wetland right there. So there's really not a lot of room for that to occur, down on that end. But that's what that was the initial commitment, would be that they would extend the sidewalk.
well, I'd like to see the 12-inch main extended down to that furthest entrance at least, with a gate, length of pipe leading off, because we need to get, there's a 12-inch down the other end of Lincoln Street already there that feeds Pleasant Street. It doesn't connect through the swamp area, there's no main there whatsoever. But we laid, years ago, we laid that 12-inch right up, brought it up to Lincoln Street, put a gate and a cap, So it's sitting there facing up the street, which will also help all that whole end of town, Scotland Street and everything. That was always the plan. That's why that 12-inch that you're gonna tie into up on West Street was dropped off there. Because there was nothing down there, a couple of
How'd
houses.
that 40B get in there without having that water line extended?
Well, they were looking at that, when you were at water flows and
Yeah.
everything, and
Well, we tried, but we couldn't get an engineer to get back to us for the town.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question, Rick?
sure.
It was before we got tatered out.
The road right there, that's directly across from the new Lincoln Street, that was part of the planning board's meeting.
This one was?
Yep,
Yeah.
that was.
Yeah.
And at that same time, there were still discussions about the access road at Shell being used for
That's
the
correct.
entrance. When
That's
did DOT rule on that?
Because they're also require local approvals and state approvals for the MEPA process.
Yeah.
Then it's in the MEPA process that DOT pushed back on that other entrance.
Push
See, the
back,
problem-
or wouldn't
The
allow.
problem up that on that other end that where Shell is there's the width of the road. I mean, the cemetery, I think the first row of people that are buried there already got their legs pulled in. Okay, I mean, I don't think you can get any more out of that cemetery. So anything that happens there in terms of overall width has to come from what's existing and from the Shell side. And Shell, I think, I don't think there was an issue there because there is some widening that's happening where Shell is. But then the next buildings after that are, pretty tight to the road.
So you're saying in the MEPA process, they're saying absolutely not, they can't use the Shell access road to enter this complex?
That's why I wish McMahon was here to say exactly what they said. But my understanding and what I was coordinated with was that Mass DOT would not issue a go-ahead with that access road showing through there.
Okay, because this permit set, this set here has that road on it still.
Which one you
The
look
set,
at?
the set that was
I have
left
other
on the
sets
table,
here.
July
What's it-
30th?
Well, see, yeah, that goes back to July 30th. So the ones that I have here would be,
October 4th.
All right.
that's the one that did not have another driveway?
So
Well,
originally.
no, this one has both. This one has that driveway that you're running the 8 up, although you didn't show water main in it.
They were,
And it's got to run back up to West Center.
Yeah, then we got through that's when we were getting through the highway, I'm sorry, the planning board process.
there were two driveways originally, and then they came up with this third. I thought one of the other driveways
So this
went
is-
away when they
that's-
put this one into the plan. Could be incorrect
This
on
one's
that.
the overall site one here.
Looks like those 3 were still there, based on looking at that.
What's the date on that?
This is October 18th, mine's October 4th.
Can you just?
Okay.
So this is the latest and greatest,
Yeah.
18th.
Yeah.
And I had two, for some reason I had another one here too, October 4th.
Oh, yeah, we've been going through, it's a constant kind of thing. In fact, we're still dealing with some of the drainage stuff in the back. So this actually represents the site plan itself. These are small versions, these are good for your eyes.
All right,
So
this-
October
and this is the
18th is the
current.
latest?
That's the one that's the latest one, which incorporates some things that, we'll see, because remember now, we're still in conservation. So we're still trying to address some of those issues, so there'll be another version that'll be coming out
Okay,
as
this
soon as
is,
we address all of those.
but this is the same as the big one
Yeah,
that I already was looking at, because that's the same date, and that still has the other roadway going up.
yeah, this one
In
did,
the
yeah,
half
this
circle.
overall one did.
All right.
Yeah, so, but the one that I gave you, the large print one, is the one that shows what's going on with the site itself. So this thing has been pretty dynamic because of, there's so many parties involved. I mean, we had habitat studies that we had to do in the back for turtles, for the landing turtles. We've had the MEPA process, which, there are issues to address from the various agencies. And the largest hurdle, I think, that McMahon's been dealing with is obviously satisfying the town, but also satisfying DOT as it relates to the changes. In fact, I think just recently there was a change about the 2 lanes in one direction and one lane in the other direction coming off the highway.
That I'm not sure about.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I'm still stuck on the Shell access road not being used, because that was a big part of this.
Yeah, we.
That was a very big part of this.
Well, we thought that it was a great feature, great site feature. Part of the problem is that Shell, and I tried to help them out on some concept plans because they had asked me to, but they now, I thought it was better that they have a different engineer altogether. So they're actually using the, is it Del Creek or whatever, out of Providence?
Rhode Island, yeah, Del
Yeah.
Creek Engineering.
So they're working on a site plan for their overall redevelopment of that property itself, which is what I think Mass DOT was really saying was, you know, they're not gonna approve something for that 60-foot access without seeing what the bigger picture is for the Shell site, because at that point, it maybe get introduced back in, you know, at that point, but at this point, our client can't wait for Shell to be just, you know, sort of at the mercy of whatever their timeline might be and so forth.
So I wonder how that'll impact any traffic studies that were previously done and forecasts with regard to traffic, because the assumption all along, or at least the intent was for that Shell access road to
Yeah,
be
that's what I
used
wish
for
McMahon was here.
coming off the 24th.
Yeah, I think that's,
Now
That
that-
was prevented at a town meeting and everything
Yes,
else.
yeah, that's how it's been presented all along. So now you take that out of the plan, and I would assume that's going to have a significant impact on any traffic
It'll
study
be tough
that was
making
done.
that corner too,
Well,
well,
that's up to
the
them to
corner's
figure
okay,
out.
because there's a good swing there.
is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I
that's
mean,
a
there's
lot
good
of truck
radius.
traffic through that light now that is not intended to be there.
Well, because anything coming from the east was already, had to come this way. But anything coming from the west was gonna go through the
Yeah.
Shell. But that now has a significant turn lane there in radius.
But it was also supposed to get them off and out of the traffic lane so it didn't back things up halfway across 24.
That's gonna be a lot of trucks
That's-
going to that building that size.
Yes, and they can't come up the other way, because when we went over the stuff before in town meeting, that, no trucks are supposed to be coming up the other direction, coming out of Bridgewater. So that means all the trucks from
Scotland
the
Street.
south, they're not
Scotland
supposed to be able to come up through there to come here. That was part of what they were discussing also, so that means anything down south has to come up 24, get off that ramp and get into there. So that's a big difference.
Well, okay, but I don't know as though, what you're saying is coming up through Scotland Street or something that way. I don't know as though I saw anything that said anything about restrictions to any of that. I think that in fact, I think that the position was that if no other trucks for anybody else are restricted access coming up from the south, then how could you impose that on one user here?
So it's been
as opposed to
approved.
some?
Heavy vehicles are not allowed, there's a weight, I believe, limit, are not allowed to come up from Scotland through West Bridgewater, and it follows the typical DOT guidelines.
Right,
unless
whatever,
there's a-
whatever anyone else is subject
All right,
to.
let me finish. So
I'm
unless they're, thank you. So unless they're delivering something to a direct address on that way, it's not to be used as a cut through from Bridgewater to West Bridgewater. And that was approved. Bridgewater approved it, and so did DOT.
What about Westbridge? Westbridge Water?
West Bridgewater requested it.
But it was approved, Bridgewater
Yes.
went along.
So I don't understand, Bridgewater, heavy trucks can go right to
So-
the line.
So if you're coming out of the industrial area in Bridgewater, you need to go left and head towards up to 104, and then take a right to get onto 24.
So what did Bridgewater have
So-
to do with approving?
Because that's Bridgewater land, so it's contiguous to ours, so we had to seek Bridgewater, had to approve, I shouldn't say approve it, but agree to it. So Bridgewater agreed to it, then it went to Mass DOT, they've approved it.
And West Bridgewater approved it too?
Well, West Bridgewater wanted it, we don't want the heavy commercial vehicles coming down Scotland and coming through West Bridgewater simply as a cut-through. You know, that's the key understanding here, is it's not to be used as a cut-through. If you have a permissible purpose, you're delivering furniture to someone in West Bridgewater, and you're coming down Scotland, your business is there. Yes, then of course, you can come through, but if the purpose is to just use it as a cut-through, no.
So if you, based on what you just said, if a vehicle's coming up to go to this building, isn't that's the purpose?
Can they use 24? Or are they just cutting through? Are they coming down 24 and then deciding they wanna go through Bridgewater and come up Scotland? No. Are they coming down 24, then they can keep coming down 24 until they get to 106 and then go to that building.
It'd actually be longer.
There's a
If you
difference
went
between
past
it.
106 or 104,
Yeah.
then you backtrack
They-
back to the building.
You probably know
Yeah,
this
that
better
would
than
be
me.
longer.
Yeah.
What are the Mass DOT rules regarding heavy commercial vehicle restrictions?
Well, I don't think that, I don't wanna speak for whatever that agreement is, but when was that agreement done?
That was approved, I wanna say, 3 weeks ago
Oh, okay,
by DOT.
okay. I guess I'm not aware of it. All right, I will make sure that I convey that to McMahon, for them to explain that anyway. And so, there, you spoke to the issue of having the water line come further down Scotland. You have the 4-inch main that's there.
Yeah, but it's on the other side of the road.
Right, okay, but the point is that this road also has been under a moratorium.
But you gotta put a sidewalk in and you gotta go right
The
down.
sidewalk was not in fact, the way that McMahon was designing it was not to impact the existing roadway. They were going adjacent to the existing pavement and doing the sidewalk there for that reason, because it was also a moratorium. So I don't know what to say about the moratorium, you know more about it than I do, but I remember when I was working on the Russo's site there.
I think by the time you guys get started, that moratorium's gonna be run out anyways, because isn't the moratorium up in another year?
It has a short lifespan, but the sidewalk, I guess I'm missing what you're saying, the sidewalk's part of the plan, so what are you saying now?
What I'm saying is that it won't impact the moratorium, because it won't be touching the pavement
Okay,
of the road itself.
But the town will work with us to put the water line down, whatever we have to do, moratorium or not.
Well,
And the important
I'm hearing
thing-
you guys say that, but I haven't heard that anywhere else.
Didn't we hear that? I mean,
Yeah, but we also discussed, we put all, in West Bridgewater, there's a lot of water mains that come down sidewalks. We like them we don't like them in the street as much as we do on the side of the road. Because when you put the water main out in the road and you get a water leak on the surface, you put the dump trucks and the backhoes out there, you've got the traffic down to one lane and you can barely get by. When they're way over on the sidewalk, it's so much easier to manage traffic.
But as I indicated to you before, in that south, as you get down towards South Elm, that sidewalk in itself has issues being constructed because of the wetlands right now. So I'm not even sure how approvable that sidewalk is, because there's a drainage conveyance there.
What if you brought the sidewalk down as far as you would to the water main there and swapped the sidewalk to the other side of the road? Because there's a lot of room over there as you get further down.
I don't.
I'd like to see that
It
water
would be,
main put
would have been
down.
nice if McMahon was here.
Yeah, wouldn't it?
yeah.
but I thought,
Since none of this is your actual work that we're talking
but I
about.
thought McMahon's work ended where the new Lincoln Street is.
No, because when the sidewalk, because of the sidewalk issue, their scope of work actually.
Oh, so now their work
They
extends down.
have the sidewalk as part of theirs too.
So they have the sidewalk or you have the sidewalk?
They have the sidewalk.
They have the sidewalk. So we're talking to the wrong person.
Thanks
So how
for
come they're
coming.
not here?
No, but I can be a good messenger because these issues have to get resolved. And so I want to be sure that, like those notes that you had from your superintendent, is it possible for me to get a copy of what his comments are? Because we gotta make sure that we're addressing.
Yeah, well, we're gonna give you a comment.
Yeah.
Larry, do you?
Don't say it like that. Jeez.
You don't want our comments? Larry,
By the way, I'm not related to anybody from the.
Town
are you
office.
sure you want-
That's all right,
How about
we're
Bridgewater?
not hiring him. That's when that's a concern.
Okay,
So Larry, if it came down the sidewalk, is it gonna affect anything as far as your work? Other than having to cross the road to get into the site?
no, I just think that from a logistics point of view, it's gonna be very difficult to get that water line down there because of the wetlands down, you know where those houses were
Yeah, I
down?
do, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in that area, that's what I'm
Replicate,
saying.
can we replicate? Let's run the water main, put the sidewalk
It's
in, and
possible.
replicate somewhere else.
Yeah, that's possible.
Has John Delano been involved in this?
I don't think you're gonna run into wetlands there when if you swap over, you could, because the water main actually further down by Scotland Street is on the other side of the road. It's right on the edge of the road.
The 12-inch, Rick, is on the other side of the road?
Yeah, 12
That we're trying to tie into?
Right.
It's on the
But
west.
where that bend is, that's gonna bend and go around the corner there a little bit. So you could just like come down straight and just go on a
Cross
straight.
the island in time.
Right, just go right across the road and then go down the other side. I think you get, and I'd look at putting the sidewalk on the other side down further, just so you have a crosswalk there, if you got wetlands in the way.
I think this is all about the moratorium. I think that's, the mindset has been based on not being able to touch the road at that point.
Did anybody look at at any point, do we know what the date is when that moratorium expires?
Sorry, I'm still stuck on shell access.
Oh,
I mean, right now,
Well, I mean,
as far as I can't, I know the moratorium has a short shelf life on it. Exactly what it is, I don't know, but again, I'll go back to the fact that even regardless of its shelf life, what's the benefit to the town in what you're talking about? Why are you so worried about the moratorium? Tell me what the benefit to the town is of this, before I even get into talking about the moratorium. Are you putting in a 12-inch pipe?
We have no plans to put in a 12-inch pipe beyond this right here, is where our 12-inch pipe was coming, where
Okay.
Lincoln Street comes in.
And what did you guys want, 12-inch
Well,
all the
they
way
wanted a
down?
12-inch all the way down.
All the way
Okay,
down.
so,
But before, when you were in previously, way back,
We were bringing
you were
it
bringing
down
a 12
here.
inch all the way down there.
We're
Which is
coming
what-
in here, this
Yeah.
entrance here.
Yeah, which is what we were assuming was happening, and it was a matter of just extending that 12 to continue down further for however much we wanted. But that's a good chunk of pipe there that we, when this was originally presented, we were assuming was coming in and was gonna be put in the street as part of that, because now, that's not only, we're getting less than we thought, but for us to make that extension down, we'd have to add, I don't know how many feet that is, but the length between those two driveways.
The trouble is too, if we have to do it done on a prevailing wage, if they do it, they're not paying prevailing wage, it costs us about 3 times as much to we're gonna have to put that 12-inch main in there, there's no doubt about it, if you build that building there. The reason why they put that 12 up on West Street and aimed it this way was they always figured someday Lincoln Street was gonna be developed into something, and that person was gonna need a lot of water. So that's why it was dropped off there, and the other 12 was dropped off facing up. And everything would be looped together, and that whole end of town would be, that's my watch talking.
how much is it
Larry,
to put in a 12-inch
I
main?
got a quick question, not
Run it
off the
down.
subject for a second, a little bit here.
Sure.
When you turned in sets of plans for site plan review to the planning board,
Yes.
right, how many sets did you turn in?
It was over a dozen, I would think.
Yeah, usually it's like almost 17, I think.
Yeah, it's crazy number like that.
But we never got a set down here.
I don't
And
know
so
what
we're
happens.
supposed to look at this and then give comments to the approving authority, which was the planning board in this case. And
Are
we
you
never
sure
got a
we
set.
didn't get them? I mean.
It
this is what I'm told, we didn't get
It
it.
was never brought up to us in a meeting that we had.
And this is how we kind of end up in the 9th hour here redesigning this thing. I mean, we should have had, when did you go to planning board?
We went to planning board in, I don't know, was it the beginning of that, like May or June?
No, the
something?
first-
Oh, way back
first set.
then?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, end of May.
End of May.
I don't know why we're not, Wayne says we're not getting sets when these projects are going to site plan review. I don't understand why.
I think that procedurally, it's a little different than some of the other towns, but procedurally, it goes, you make the application to the building department. Building
Yes.
department sends it to the planning board for them to comment on.
Sends it,
For them to
All
have
the
a meeting,
departments.
to have a, well, I don't know what else that regulation says. But I know that he has to send them to the planning board for them to comment back to him before he can take any action. It's not a permit or an approval that they give. They provide their comments and back to.
as part of site plan approval.
Yeah, but it's not site plan approval in the way it is in some other towns. It's different. It's not a
But
public hearing.
nonetheless-
But then we need,
Nonetheless.
but then we need to go to Mike about getting the,
Like,
making
where
sure
are these, where are all these sets ending up that
Well,
we're
they
not
start
getting?
at notice, so I would think that that's where you need to have the first conversation, is to find out what's Mike's distribution, what does he do with them when they come in? You know, cause I mean, there is a lot of paper that goes.
Because when it's going through the planning board or ZBA, whoever's reviewing
Yeah.
the site plan, all the departments, police, fire, highway, water, we're all supposed to send out any comments that we have, you know, early on.
Yeah, and I don't know whether or not the planning board reaches out to you, or whether or not it's the building department.
No, I think we're supposed to reach out to them. We're supposed to
How are you
get,
supposed to know what's there?
no, they're supposed to get something to us.
Years ago, they used
We'd
to
never
put it
known.
we're supposed to get a
everybody's
set,
mailbox.
we're supposed to get
Yeah.
a set of proposed plans.
Yeah, either the planning board or Mike should be
And then we
getting
look
that
at the
to us.
plans and we
Yeah.
would make suggestions
Right.
Yeah, and we
while
get,
they're going through site plan approval, so it gets written into
And quite honestly, I love it when that happens.
because it's saying, yeah, you don't
Because
wanna.
we get the comments in, and we can get them incorporated and get them through.
It's good for
We
everybody.
go through less
It's good for everybody.
iterations, you know?
What they used to do was put it in everybody's mailbox, we all get a set of plans, and then they used to review in the planning board, the drainage and the way the roads were gonna go and all that. Then, when they got that all laid out, then they used to say, go down and see the water department about the water. They come in, we go over what we're looking for the water, and they come back, or a lot of times they just come in during the day, we'd talk about it, and when they came into the meeting, it was already drawn up right.
Right. See, one of the reasons why I came before you folks before was that we wanted to start from a position of knowing whether or not you will serve, you know, that water will be.
Is water available?
Right. And I said to you at that time, the specific design would be forthcoming after that. And that's what McMahon did as far as the off-site, and as far as the on-site, you know, we went through the process as we did. There obviously seems to be a little bit of a breakdown in terms of how that actually gets coordinated. Maybe that's something to kind of work on, so we don't go through this again.
So how did they get word that there was water available? Was that from our office?
Well, that's because
Well, that
I
was the
came before
meeting we
you.
had with Larry, we told him that's water
Remember,
available.
I was looking for a letter, I got a letter from you folks saying that it was.
That's right.
It was a
It's always
will-serve
been
letter.
planned to go down there, but I just,
of course, the will serve letter was based on a whole bunch of 12-inch lines.
Yeah, that's right.
No, I think your letter basically said that you'll serve water, but the specific design part of it was still, you needed to approve the specific design.
Right.
But there was a design presented at the time that we wrote the approval letter.
And that was the one that came in through the front,
Yes,
yes.
with however many hundreds of feet of 12-inch line was going in Lincoln Street,
Yes,
which now is,
it's still all that 12-inch line, except that it was,
oh no, that's the 12-inch line between those two entrances isn't there anymore.
that's the part that's not there,
Yes.
yes. I
That's a
agree.
lot of line.
Is there gonna, you anticipate pushback from the developer on this situation?
I don't know. I mean, I'm here to listen, know what the issues are.
So we need to be really clear, we want it going down Lincoln Street
Yeah, you
at
kind
this
of
point.
do.
Huh?
You kind of do.
We gotta be
And
really
then
clear, I mean, we're.
That's the only way I can get clear,
Sure.
you know, indications from him as to how far, you know, he's willing to go and.
And we'd really like to work something out and get it all the way to South Elm Street, to be really clear.
But we feel based on what we saw, that we're already owed that first part as part of it. Not that it was suddenly approving the design is approving the type of pipe, approving how it gets connected and up above, what's going in for fire hydrants, not, well, we're not gonna do this piece of pipe, we're gonna take it in some other way that I don't remember, like I think you said, this wasn't there.
At that time, that driveway was not there.
So that's a major change to whether we said, you know, what we said we were gonna serve and
What we saw.
what design would have to be approved, and, you know, this isn't essentially the same plan that we're
Okay,
talking
so
about.
let's talk about that. Okay, so the difference, if we talk about this project, and if what you're saying is that the water line has to come down and come in through the front entrance to get to the building, the way it was on that original plan, right?
Yep.
Okay, and if that water pressure and volume is sufficient for the building, then my client doesn't need to have a water line go from that point down to South Elm Street. That gets into whatever the agreement is with the selectmen and the TIF and
No,
so
that-
forth,
No,
as to
we,
whether or not that costs.
we felt that part would be above and beyond what you had already proposed. That's what we were talking about,
Yeah.
trying to work with to get additional pipe. in
And
the
he
street.
hasn't been adverse to doing some additional things, which included the sidewalk as one of those. But that was something that was gonna be subject to his, some tax benefit to him in the future.
Well, that's the TIF that he got.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
he
TIF.
already received the benefit, he's getting
Right.
the benefit.
So if that
That's been
section of the
established.
pipe that's going from the front entrance down to South Elm Street is part of the TIF, I don't see it as much of a pushback than if it were described some other way.
Well, even
because
if
he-
it's, what's it got to do with the TIF? I mean, I'm losing you there, Larry.
Because if we don't need that line,
Yeah,
my understanding is, the agreement here, as they saw it, was that the line was gonna come in here and go in that way, okay? So, from here down to South Elm Street, we're saying any improvements to a water line there is not something this project needs.
mhm.
So, what we're saying is that would have a different kind of structure as to how that gets compensated.
That's something the town needs, and the town gave him something he needs as far as a tip.
Right.
Right, and if that gets included in there, so that the cost of it gets reimbursed over that TIF and however that timeline is, then I can't see that he would have, you're asking me what his reaction will be. I don't think that'll be as bad a reaction for that, than to say, well, no, we just want you to pay for the cost of going all the way down South Elm Street, when it really doesn't need that.
There's probably a lot of discussion needs to go on here, but
So the TIF's
we wanna
already,
make it clear what we want,
Yeah.
and let's see how we can make this work.
Water lines,
And I wish we had had this discussion 4 months ago.
Because
well,
the
I don't
TIF
see any of that happening, just to put it out there for you, because
What
the
happened?
TIF's already been
Well, I was
established. I
gonna
mean,
say, the
yeah.
TIF is,
established.
what's in the TIF is in the TIF. This
Yeah.
is something we'd have to discuss with them about how, you know, some other way of how
I
we
think
work
that
that
the other
out.
thing that I kind of alluded to, back, we had sort of a little bit of a discussion of this when I was in the first time.
Yeah.
And what I suggested to you at that point was, maybe that's where you have to have some sort of discussion about the fees that are required for this project, and maybe partly offsetting some of those fees to pay for that further extension of the line beyond where he needs it. So that is a way for you to sort of get it done and not lose anything, except that you're deferring some of the fees to some of that cost of doing it, and you stay away from the prevailing wage thing and everything else, you know?
So everything, I mean, at this point, it's all open to discussion at this point.
Yeah, I mean, has there been a calculation of what the fees are for, you know, for his work here?
No, we haven't figured that out yet. What did Wayne say, it was about 60 to 65 cents a square foot?
60 to 65 cents a square foot.
Do the math on that. How many square feet was this building?
350,000.
I mean, that might be something where you consider a partial adjustment.
Well, and that's the thing, we're not really expecting him to run all that stuff for nothing, just
Right.
to be a nice guy, although since we're losing the access road to the Shell station, you might wanna do it for goodwill.
227,000.
I mean, that's the kind of thing that we might be able to work something out, sharing the cost or something like that. But that's, you know, it would help if they came and actually spoke since it's there. I'm not, and nothing against, I mean, I've been in your shoes on stuff like this. You're in a tough, you have to kind of pull the stuff and go back to them.
Yeah, well, I
because
do.
they're not
I-
here to- Yeah,
My wallet isn't big enough to pay for this, that's for sure. So, I mean, I can only go back and explain to him, you know, where the commission stands on it, obviously where the selectmen stand on it. But like I say, I was not really involved in any of the discussions with the selectmen. I only attended, I think, 2 meetings that were somehow related to what I was doing. Most of the stuff has been with McMahon, as far as the,
Is that who you guys met with?
Yeah,
McMahon?
just to be clear, I'm not speaking for the entire board, I'm speaking as one selectman here. But I don't think anything I've said has come as a big surprise.
right. But I'm saying, I think that approach of maybe looking at, you know, maybe is there a way of offsetting some of it by reduced tie-in fees and stuff like that, that might help pay for some of that line going down. Especially if it is with.
See, our problem in the water department with industrial buildings is we sell water at cost, and industrial buildings create a big demand for fire protection, not for domestic,
Right,
but for fire protection. So we have to maintain water tanks and, you know, bigger mains. You don't need 12-inch mains for residential customers. You need it for industrial customers. And most of the time, the 12-inch main is never gonna be used until they have a fire. You know what I mean? And what size domestic line would they put in there, 2?
yes, but
it's
it's
got
a
a
minimum.
4.
It's a 4 on that one?
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
got a 4-inch coming off. Hey, you got all C900 you're proposing in here?
Once we got off the site, once we got off the road, we went from ductile to the C900.
But it is all,
It's all,
it
it's
is
all
still all
ductile in the
ductile
street.
in the street.
Yes.
So do we allow that C900 off-site?
Service connections, we don't allow plastic, but if they own the pipe in the road, I think, on their site, I think that's different. It's a
I
service
thought we
connection.
went to all ductile line, I'm not.
Well, all ductile line for our stuff, the stuff that's in the roadways
No, I
and
thought.
such for the
Oh.
extension.
Like
We'd
a
have to look
subdivision
at, we'd
I
have
don't-
to
I
look
mean,
at the
I'm
exact
just wondering.
wording.
Yeah,
I was
I'm
under-
just
I was under the
questioning
impression,
the same, I thought it was all ductile.
We'd have to-
I thought we changed it.
I mean, it popped out because I know we had made a change, but I didn't think it necessarily would be their yard piping, so we need to check that.
I mean, it is what it is, but I just, maybe I'm unclear, I thought we went to all ductile line.
Ductile line.
I mean, if that's
in
the
all
case,
public
why-
ways.
Ductile line is what?
In all public ways, but not on off-site.
See, because I thought we did the way, so when they put in a
It's
cul-de-sac
still
or
connected
something, it has to
to our
be there.
system. We've had,
That's different.
there's been so many problems with the way the plastic pipe's been installed, that's why we moved against it. Instead of using enough fittings, the contractors try to bend the pipe in order to get around a circle, and then when you tap it, they explode because they're under so much
How does that
stress.
happen with all the fees that are paid for your inspectors to be there?
I know.
How does that happen?
Well, no, we don't have any fees for inspections.
No?
No, we don't.
Oh.
We put our guys out there when they can be there, but we don't, like a lot of towns, hire an inspector to sit there and watch the whole project.
Bridgewater has stamp.
Yeah, most towns do, but West Bridgewater's never done it because we just didn't think it was necessary.
They run up the cost so badly.
Oh, I know.
It's terrible in this town. I mean, I commend you guys for not doing it like they do, but I think you still need to have some, you know, some critical coverage for that kind of stuff to make sure that those kind of things don't happen. But even in, well, I know Bridgewater, I'm pretty sure East Bridgewater is the same way, is that when you're in the street, it's deductible, and when you're on private, you're allowed to use the C900.
Well, listen, we can double check
You can double check. I mean,
what
it's
we
just-
actually put in. 'Cause again, I was thinking it was more when they put in the subdivisions, they put in the roadways and stuff. I didn't think yard piping necessarily.
But that would go back to like even a residential service, it'd have to be copper to the curb stop and plastic to the house.
except we said the copper all the way through because of the issues that would be.
So we actually,
with
does it
that.
actually say that in our?
So, yeah, we say specifically the service connections have to be copper, period. We're not allowing plastic service connections.
So we don't know if we
They should look
specify.
at that.
We just have to double
4-inch
check what
line.
we have.
We don't have,
this
even
applies.
Chadwick's of Boston doesn't have a 4-inch line. That's a bigger bill than this one, isn't it?
Yeah, and then we're gonna have a 4-inch meter to change out too.
Yeah.
Why would you need 4-inch for domestic in there?
I guess this
Sometimes
gets,
they just.
well,
don't
you know what
use
it is, this gets back to not knowing who the tenant is.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So not knowing who the tenant is, the worst case is that the 4-inch line would be what they.
The fees
But you've got a septic installed, so I mean, you couldn't have a high water user there, or you'd have to.
No, you're
What's-
right. We
what's the
have
septic
a
designed for?
limitation on our amount of gallons per day.
How many gallons per day is that designed for now?
I forgot what that number is on that.
Ballpark, Larry, I mean, not
Yeah,
over
I'm
10,000.
Kerry, how much is the 4-inch line? Do you have the fees? Schedule?
I think it's, I'm not sure if it's.
It was under, if I kept it.
It's under the.
Kept it not very far under 10, if I remember.
Right,
Oh,
but that's
is that
including
high
the,
Including
that's
the other
including the
bills.
retail site.
Yeah,
And the other possible warehouse, which really isn't, I don't see.
Oh, the
it.
retail site's connected to this? It's all one septic?
There were, actually in the master plan, there was this building, there was another warehouse and a retail site. The
Larry,
more that we had to do to design this one, the less that we think that other warehouse may happen, we're not sure.
you have 5,250
the
gallons a day.
tie-in for a 2-inch domestic is 10,687. A 4-inch is $66,009.
That should be enough of an incentive right there.
That's what I'm saying. That's what usually, McDonald's came in for a 4-inch, then went down to 1.5 inches.
Wow.
I said, why do you need a 4-inch? I said, we always build them with 4 inches.
So
I
the
said,
was
okay,
10,000
then
what?
$66,009.
No, the other.
Oh, the other one is 10,687. 1.5 inches is 5,419.
Wow.
They're steep.
Yeah. It's a lot to think about there, huh?
Yeah. They just need to revisit it. I bet you they'll be able to cut it down because I don't think we don't have any 4-inch. We don't have any 3 inches. They're all 2-inch, the biggest. And United Liquors, they're all,
Yeah, you get a lot of volume, huh?
No, your total's 5,200 gallons a day.
Yeah.
So it's not a lot, that's.
And is that 5,200 gallons a day with all this, with the retail and that?
No, that's that
building
component
is
of it.
5,000.
Oh, you're doing the square footage.
No,
No,
I
he's
haven't
got-
broken down into three.
Yeah, this plan has the septic in the
So
back.
just that building is.
Just that building is so that 4-inch service
Is for
that building
5,000.
is for 5,000 gallons a day,
Yeah,
which is oversized.
yeah, I think there's gonna be a lot of conversation with the building
Yeah.
architect.
yeah.
He's probably too big on that, too small on the other one, right? As far as, possibly.
Yeah, but so, well, like I was saying, our problem in the water department is when we get a building like this, the water bill probably for this building will be $800 a year, $1,000 a year, and we sell water at cost. So, and we gotta provide them with all this water instantly available, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, through tanks, maintenance, painting them and all that. That's why we have to put the sprinkler fees onto these buildings, because if we add up all the buildings on Manley Street, all the industrial buildings, I don't think we make $20,000 a year in revenue. It's nothing. Most of our money comes in for the residential customers. So we have to that's why we have that fee in the beginning, when they build the building on square feet based on sprinkler protection, just so we get some money, because we know that that building's gonna cost us money
Okay, so you said that these were the tie-in fees
for the domestic.
for domestic, and for the other one, you're saying for the fire line itself,
Okay, for the fire line,
So that fire line right now is.
227,000, I thought.
Yeah,
Well, the
According
fire
to
line
Wayne's-
isn't based on size though, it's based on, that's the one based on square footage.
based on square footage.
Okay, so it's based on how much, 65 cents you said?
65 cents.
But that's actually
Between
not,
60 and 65 cents a square foot is what.
And you said that that came out to be what?
227,500.
but that's not a hard number, because above a certain, and this is above the upper of the fee, the fees are calculated individually for each building. So this is above the maximum number, so we have the ability to change that number up or
Right.
down, however. So that number could be, we could look at it and say,
We used to have
more, it's
one,
gonna be
we used to
higher.
have one fee, but what happened was, guys like, the little tiny
Yeah.
building that just has one 4-inch sprinkler system, you know, you're whacking them with a big fee. So we decided first we were gonna charge by the sprinkler head, and some of the buildings got so big and they had so many layers, we couldn't count them. So one of the fire sprinkler guys said, why don't you just base it on square feet and charge on the number of risers that come into the building and the number of inches. So we have an annual fee for those, because when these guys go out for their premiums, every couple of years they bid them, and then they start flowing the water, and there's no meter on that water. They're wasting the water, and they got 2 or 3 different insurance companies that come out and flow them, and they don't take each other's tests. They don't say, you know, we'll all use this one test. No, they all come out and run their own tests. So there's thousands and thousands of gallons that'll be dumped out into the parking lot. And we had a lot of residential customers say, hey, I can't even fill my pool. And those guys are dumping all that water and they're not paying anything. And so we decided to charge according to the number of rises that they have. And that was based on square footage, you know,
Right.
same thing, you know. So,
All right, well, I can, obviously I'll have that discussion with them, and I'm gonna try to push my client to have the building architect really go back and look at his stuff closer. And see what, see whether or not everything he's got in there is well justified. All right, so I guess, we have a lot to deal with. As far as now the specifics of the McMahon design, I don't know, has there been any comments that have come back for that McMahon design? I know there was some discussion about the services along the way, whether or not we're just going to be under them, or...
We need to have McMahon come in and do a presentation like you just did.
Yeah. So yeah, can we identify when you want them in here?
Well, I think we asked them already, and they just basically didn't.
Did we ask them? Did
You
we-
asked
I
them?
thought Wayne said.
Wayne
Wayne
asked
asked
them.
Can you,
Wayne asked them and they don't seem to want to come in.
well, I don't know, we've had communication with them.
Wayne,
Can you
Wayne-
let them know, Larry, that we need to
Yeah, I
see
don't
them
wanna
so this
skip
thing
my
can move
client,
forward?
You guys,
No, no,
you
Wayne-
guys asked them to come in and they said no. That's something my guy.
I don't know that that
crazy about.
happened, did it?
Wayne had sent an email a while back, I don't know if it was at the last meeting or the meeting before, when this stuff was coming up, and we were talking about it, we had told him to see about getting them in. And he sent an email that he wasn't able to get them to commit to coming to a meeting. I can probably find.
All they do is
and forward it.
they sent some small prints that you can't hardly see on the computer what they want to do, but there's no way to talk to them about it, you know, you can't.
You tell me when you want them here, I'll have them here.
Next meeting.
Next meeting,
Next
Okay.
meeting is November 1st.
November 1st.
they could do
I
that.
can't be here that one.
Now, this other engineering firm, where are they out of?
McMahon has several offices, one's in Taunton, one's in Boston, I think.
Oh, so they're
They're
around.
primarily,
They're not out in California.
they're primarily traffic, and so I've used McMahon for traffic studies. I have obviously never dealt with them as it related to actually roadway design. This was kind of a different kind of relationship I had with them this time. But I'm not, they're working directly for my client. I mean, we coordinate, but they're not working for me.
Well, maybe
It's
we
not-
didn't have the right person or something that he
Well,
was
they
trying to
have
contact
3 or 4
either.
people involved in it. But I don't know about their strengths and weaknesses, I really don't know. But as far as presentation part of it, I would have thought that Paul Fergal would have been at a meeting if he was asked to be at a meeting, but we're gonna tell him he has to be here for the first.
Yes, I got some questions too. When they start the 12-inch main coming down 106, they're gonna cut off, they say, Route 106, water services, and they're gonna tap them.
No, that's the absolutely wrong way to do it.
Yeah, I know.
You don't touch those services, because you have to
They,
clear that line, make sure it chlorinates out,
right,
and
you got
test
pressure
them out,
tested,
and
chlorinated,
before you do anything else.
and then, but they're eliminating the old 6-inch, and they're just bringing the water main down, and it looks like they're gonna tap them over. I'm like, how, they can't do that.
That's
I think that the guy who's more knowledgeable about what they plan on doing is Kyle Dickman, because Kyle is the contractor. Kyle used to be with Grossman, and he's I think Grossman, right? Isn't that right? No, who's
I would say Grossman doesn't.
no? Did I mean to say that? Campanelli. He was with Campanelli, but now he's out on his own. He's actually, Kyle was the one with Campanelli. He was in charge of the one on Elm Street, Bridgewater. Kyle has his own company now, and he is the one that's doing this job. And I believe that he and McMahon have been talking about specific and logistics and
Maybe
stuff.
if he could.
I think they both need to be.
I think it both come, so we can get it on the
Yeah, I
plan
think
that
so.
we want it.
I think they both
It
need
needs
to
to be on the plan, so
Okay.
there's no question on how that's getting done up there.
Because the engineer may be engineering something that the contractor can't do.
Or the contractor's gonna wanna change it, which is fine, but let's
But
get
let's,
it shown on the plan correctly.
Now, I was waiting for him to say, or the contractor knows a better way to do it.
Larry,
It's true.
it's happened,
It's
right?
true. It's true. You know?
Sometimes it
And
happens.
sometimes it happens, and that's why it's good to have them both, I think, to have them both here.
Sometimes the engineer designs something that can't be built.
now,
Right, well, there's a better way to do it.
really?
Seriously.
It's happened, we heard about it.
Yeah, we've heard about other engineers
That's
that design things that can't be built.
All right, so November 1st, 5 o'clock?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
All right.
so.
Any other messages
Let
that I need to
them,
bring back?
if they could be here at 5, let them know, so Curry can get them on the agenda to what time, so
Yep.
we know what's going on, if they're gonna be here at 6 or 5, or,
Yeah.
so we can get them on the
Karen,
agenda.
they never indicated that they were coming though?
I'm trying to look up the email that Wayne sent, just, I just wanna make sure.
You know who we
he
talked to, Karen?
contacted me by Tony.
No, I'm
maybe
actually
instead of-
texting him.
I know Rich started getting involved.
No, off the top of his head.
Yes, I got a
Take
couple
good
of
look.
emails
You say,
from
Kerry, he
him,
doesn't know?
but he just sending plans,
He
He doesn't know who
this
he's
is what we're gonna do.
Off the top of his head, no.
I haven't really answered him
He's at the
because
airport picking him up.
it's like he's gotta come in and talk to all of us, he can't just send me a set of plans and
Well,
ask
I
me.
mean, I guess, it's not clear to me, I haven't seen anything that said, you guys need to come here. I was told, Rich said there was a meeting and I indicated that if he wanted me to be here this evening, I would be. And so he said, yeah, he definitely
Well,
wanted.
we appreciate you showing up because this is more information than we've had so far.
Well,
Okay,
And we gotta fix something on our end, as far as,
we need to.
we should have seen these plans 4 months ago.
Right,
Larry,
but we'll get there.
Rich Hartline,
Rich Hartline, that's my man,
that's,
that's my client.
that's Steve Bartolo,
Bartolo.
that's
That's
who
Bartolo.
Wayne talked to about.
So he talked to
Yeah.
Rich directly.
Mhm.
Yeah, the email I was thinking about, that he said afterwards he wasn't gonna be, it was him, it wasn't McMahon.
Okay.
That's what I wanted to check, just in case, because I didn't want you talking to them and saying,
Yeah,
I heard something.
And I don't need to get Rich all riled up if he found out that McMahon was told to be here and he wasn't here.
Yeah.
You know? Okay, well, I think so November 1st, you should have a presentation on all that at that point. Now, the question would be is whether or not I return with them or not. I guess a lot of it will be depending on whether or not I get something to tell you about some of the rest of this here. But if you guys can think about, I mean, you just identified a lot of fees here. So if you guys can think about how that might relate to that, you know, that line extension and stuff, you know, that might be part of your solution here to get that water line to go all the way to South Elm Street. I know, I realize that, and also the moratorium part of it, however that needs to be addressed as far as whether or not it has to go underneath that proposed sidewalk, or whether or not it could go elsewhere. Or like you said, move the sidewalk over on the other side and get towards the wetlands. But that still means crossing with the line.
Well, I think just speaking for myself as a selectman, I need to hear more about what's going on here. I don't think the moratorium is, or even close to being concerned with that, with all this going on, so. Let's hear more about that, I think.
About what, Denise?
Your talks with him about maybe adjusting the fees to finish what you want done with a 12-inch line.
As far as the
He-
fees, Larry, too, I'll just throw one thing out there. I mean, we're a small town running a whole water department. You know, 7,000 people to support this whole water department as far as residential customers, so the fees help, you know.
7,000 people, but only 2,700 houses that we can build. So it's a very, very small.
Yeah.
When we spread that bill out, it doesn't take a very big project to really hit, you know, each customer. If you got 8,000 houses in town or 10,000, it makes a big difference. You can spread that cost over many more people, and it's not as bad. But we're just a small town, you know.
I think the key word is adjustment, not erasing.
Well, here's the thing, we're looking at
Exactly.
some new treatment, you know, between PFAS and down here, iron and manganese, you know, another water treatment station down here, so these aren't cheap on a small town's
We're
budget.
talking
I wanna wait
millions.
for a week, and I came back home and we still got a boil water,
In Bridgewater?
situation in Fairhaven.
Oh, for
Oh,
hand.
yeah, didn't it just get lifted?
I don't think it
Is that
did.
an E.
Like,
coli issue?
Yeah,
It was on the news this morning.
Marion and,
Mattapoisett.
Mattapoisett and Fairhaven.
Mattapoisett, yeah.
So I heard him say Mattapoisett was lifted this morning.
Are they all tied into the same water system?
They have a common connection, I don't know why it's not just a meet and greet kind of connection that when you need it, you know, but they do have some connection that,
They have a media filtration system, not green sand down there. I know that when they started that, I
all
knew
these
the
issues
guy
came
for
out though after the 7 inches of rain.
Yeah.
it. Was, yeah, it was tough.
Oh,
After
that's
the
all?
September storm, that's when Bridgewater had an issue, that's when the towns down there had an issue. Then they got out of it, and then they had to go back in.
Oh, so it's from their wells that producing,
Yeah.
it's not a main break or anything.
Well, we don't know. I mean, it could have been for some work that was done or something
You know,
else.
but when you get that kind of rain, it just flushes some stuff down.
Yeah, this stuff goes where it's
Yeah.
not supposed to go. That's what happens, you know, so. It was too much of a coincidence to have Bridgewater at the same time Fairhaven right after that September storm. You know, so I knew that was the start.
That's what usually happens though. When one town, you'll hear about 2 or 3 towns.
Well, my first thought was, are they using the same testing company? That was my first thought, right? I said, maybe it's a lab issue, you know, but I don't think that was the case, so. All right, listen, I thank you very much. I think that I understand where you guys are coming from, I understand where you're coming from, and let's see, you know, how we can kind of get it sort of wrapped up in a better situation. As far as that shell issue, I'm surprised that this is the first time you were hearing about it.
When did this meeting occur, or when did MEPA respond with
Well,
it?
MEPA hasn't come back with their final response,
Oh,
because all the agencies are responding to MEPA, and then there'll be a final determination coming out. But in the conversations that McManus had with Mass DOT, They were told that with that, they would not go along with having that connection. Because
Well, we
they
don't
felt that the way, until they knew what was happening with the shell, they were concerned that that would cause more of a backup. But remember now, they were also looking at, that was when you had 2 lanes going out, 1 lane coming in.
Mhm.
My feeling, personally, if it's reversed, that issue may not be an issue, the shell.
Well, I can't really speak to the lanes, because again, I have to go back to a
Yeah.
traffic study and see exactly, you
Well, I'm
know,
not-
what
I'm
the
not-
data
yeah.
showed, but I can't see how it would back up more if they have to. Common sense is, it's going to back up more if they have to come down to take the right. And how are you gonna do that if you have trucks coming out and going in? That's gonna be a mess.
Carefully.
Well, not really, this is,
You
no.
move the stop bar back on the vehicles exiting.
Yeah.
Sounds like to
You
me
know,
the
wider-
whole thing
yeah,
needs to
wider
be
intersection.
redesigned based on that.
Well, it's, like I say, I was not part of those discussions, I'm secondhand telling you about that. I would rather have McMahon, intimate that to you.
Okay. Sounds
Okay.
good, thank you.
Thank you very much.
No, thank
Always
you.
a pleasure to
Yeah,
come by.
thanks coming in, Larry.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Glad to hear you took some time off, Larry.
Went to San Diego, had a wonderful time.
Good for you.
Yeah,
Well
that was
deserved,
nice.
I'm sure.
It's a stress when you come back, you know, it's like 10 o'clock, 10 o'clock on Monday morning, it's like you never left.
Yep, you're already ready to go again.
Wayne says here that Eddie Maderos has been taken off the agenda. I guess he's satisfied, I guess. Wayne said we should take a look at, please look at the pipe that we left in the office, preferably, see, came from Station 1 inside, part of the carrying water system. Okay, so he would just wants us to look at the pipe that he took out of the station. Do you know what that is, Gary?
On the table, and I can
In
grab
there?
it if you want.
Okay. On the PFAS, the letter has been accepted and being prepared for Wednesday shipment and bulk mail. Quarterly average is what caused the MCL violation, and we're in full compliance on this matter with Mass DEP. I do have a question for Mass DEP, what to do about the schools, daycare, and nursing homes. Remember, this is a lifetime violation for an MCL. So we gotta wait to hear.
Lifetime advisory.
Yeah.
He emailed that letter out to all of us, and I think to the selectmen, so you should have, you got yours?
Yeah,
Okay.
I did receive a copy, I have some questions.
What's
If
that?
you wanna take questions, yeah.
So you have questions about
About
this?
what's in the letter?
Yeah, the letter.
Okay,
So that's going out to the entire town, is
Yes.
that
Yeah,
correct?
yeah, we have to.
it has to by Mass DEP regulations, everybody we serve,
Okay,
they have to know about it.
so right now, the way, and I just wanna make sure I understand it all correctly, right now, the advisory to not drink the water is for pregnant infants and anyone with some sort of underlying
Yeah,
health condition?
what they call sensitive receptors, and they're listed in the letter, but yes, pregnant and nursing women, like toddlers that you're using for mixing formula, they
Okay.
say, and I guess if your doctor says you have some kind of a compromised immune system.
Okay.
Those are basically the cases that they say it's a shorter term thing.
It's a category of people that are going to have difficulty coming to get water. Especially, when you're carrying a 5-gallon jug or whatever. There is a reimbursement program through the state. It's not a grant, it's a reimbursement program for costs associated with getting clean water to people when you've had this failure. Have you looked into that? Are you familiar with it?
I don't know if Wayne has, I haven't.
So the point I was gonna get to is if you can utilize that to maybe get the water to a more convenient place. I mean, the seniors are gonna have difficulty filling jugs, getting water. If you can get some of the, and Randolph is already doing it, Randolph's already utilizing this resource of funds to make it more convenient for its
We
residents
just
to get water.
had a blue drop system put in. I work for the DPW.
Oh, for what, I'm sorry,
A
did
blue
you?
drop
Yeah.
system, the filtration system. So, they just installed one, just came online about 3 weeks ago now. So,
The way we were thinking is if there's something that's a little better than the
See, this-
spigot outside.
These wells here have none in it, it's very, 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 very low. So
Yeah.
that's why we wanted to make this water available to them,
Yeah,
because this is the cleanest water we got in town.
and that makes sense, but if you're talking about someone who already has an underlying,
Well,
sensitive, what do
yeah.
they call it,
Yeah.
a pregnant woman coming to get a 5-gallon jug between the hours of 7 and 2, someone with health issues already, disabled or whatever, coming to get a 5-gallon jug between the hours of 7 to 2, if there's a way.
I don't think that, if they they take the samples from the wells,
Mhm.
not from the distribution system. If you took the samples from the distribution system, we have 7 wells, and only 2 of them on Manley Street that they pumped together came up that failed. So the water's up that end of town. This end of town, this whole end of town has very, very, it's all mixed, it's blended, and there's very, very low numbers. So the only place that you're gonna get, I think if you took it even on Manley Street, it would probably pass because this water ends up going up there too.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I don't dispute it.
But you wanna
I-
see, make it something that makes it easier for people, 'cause one of the things with this coming down here was we wanted to be able to get something we could get in right away, because it's short notice on it,
Right.
rather than, we don't really have places to try to locate it, something else necessary on water department property. Anything else is gonna take us figuring out where something can go. You want it accessible, the center of the town hall.
Well, so that's some of the
Type.
other ideas I had, and Rick, I don't understand why the state went from the federal level of 70 down to 20. I don't know. But I'm going to assume that community knows a lot more than I do about PFAS, and all I know is that when I was pregnant, it was probably the healthiest I've ever been, because I was so careful about everything, because I was caring for another. So while I appreciate what you said, doesn't matter to me. If they're saying that's the level, and I'm pregnant, I'm not drinking the water. I'm not feeding it to my baby, and if I have cancer, I'm not drinking it. That's all there is to it. But, so what I was thinking is, if you got some of those cash resources, now I don't know if this goes into what you said about DEP getting involved. Can you fill that water here and deliver it to a Council on Aging building, so that the seniors can pick it up there? They're more likely to have people there that can help them get it into their vehicles.
I mean, it's something we can look into other things besides, again, that was to try to come up with something, okay, we hit this, we're gonna have to do something, that's something we can basically do in-house to make it, so there is water available, so now we're not failing the regulation. That doesn't mean we can't look at something else
Okay.
to do. And that's, I mean, if this system that we could do something like, as long as we're using our own water.
So I
But
don't,
our water would have to come from down here, because that's the only test point for the PFAS.
so I don't know what that reimbursement program, what the guidelines were around as far as timing. So it might be something you
We'll have to
want to
get
look
on
at
it now.
sooner rather
Yeah.
than later. Because again, I don't know what, I read about it on the state's
See-
website.
We'd have to talk to DEP about putting it in the bottles, that's a whole different.
Well, I think the setup, they still fill their own bottles, correct?
Yeah, no, but she was talking about,
Yeah, I can show you. Easton has something similar too that they set up as well.
I thought Easton set up a regular vending machine.
They
That's what
set
this
up,
is, basically. So that's outside of our building.
Yeah. and it's tied into the
It's
regular.
tied into the water service in that building.
It's right outside the treatment plant?
It's right outside our
Yeah.
DPW building. If you slide left or right, that's the filtration system.
Do you provide containers?
No,
Is that like a little resin system?
yeah, that's the whole filter.
Yes,
Yeah.
you can say.
Do you know what that was?
I talked to the superintendent before I got here tonight, and he said it was right around 50, 60. And then it's like $3 to $4 grand a month to maintain it.
And they're using those reimbursement funds now?
Yeah, that's what he told me, there was, some, state funding available that they,
And because that
How
comes,
high was the PFAS there? Would you say it's right on?
Yeah, we weren't that high, we were bouncing right around the 21 mark.
Oh, so you like.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it was just over, and his name's Chris Pelletieri, and he said if you guys had any questions about the system, cost, or anything like that.
How much
Can
you
you
say
put
it
that
was?
name in the minutes, Gary?
He said it was right around 50 or 60 grand,
Um,
for initial setup.
Does he think he's got a chance of getting it reimbursed?
That, I didn't talk to him about any of that.
I'm sure that's something
Wouldn't
Wayne
hurt
could
to
cover
brainstorm
with
with him a
them,
little
right?
bit.
Yeah.
The
We'll
other
talk
thing
to him.
Wayne had asked about is, if we know anyone in Easton to talk to about what they're doing with
Oh,
their.
yeah, we know the guys.
Yeah,
over
so I figured
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
appropriate for you guys to be calling them, the
yeah, that was the
selectmen
one,
to be
in the
bringing the
email,
public.
yeah.
Yeah, to find out what the restaurants are doing, because I
there.
can't
Now, is that right
imagine.
outside
Well,
the
but
plant?
the thing is, for something
Right
like a
outside our
restaurant,
building,
Yeah.
we got it barricaded off
Where?
with Jersey barriers,
other than,
so in the
Some
winter,
kind of
notice,
What do you do about slip, if water spills on that? I know like, Simpson Springs up here, they got a shelf that catches the water so they don't slip and fall down.
by what I've been told, it filters right back into the system. And if it spills out of the jug, it goes back in and goes into the drain.
Oh,
yeah, because it stays contained in the thing when it's.
Right.
Is that?
There's like a 500-gallon tank under the unit. And every time somebody calls for water, there's 2 push buttons, there's 2 stations that flips up, you can do a 5-gallon, you can do a gallon. Every time it turns on, the pumps inside turn on.
but you don't truck the water to that, they
It's
just fill it right
piped
from
into-
there.
It's piped into our building,
Yeah.
so it's piped in off into.
See, that'd be our
service to our
problem, I
building.
think once we truck it, then we come under the Food and Drug Administration, like Simpson
Or
Springs.
if we provide containers or something.
Yeah, but we weren't talking about providing containers anyway, and if it was something that got set up someplace more accessible than down here, like, you had mentioned the senior center.
Well, no,
But-
I was saying if you
So-
bottled it here and
And
delivered
bring it up,
I
it
thought you
there.
meant for something.
No,
Because if that treats it with the filters, then we wouldn't necessarily have to have it right here.
It could be anywhere.
It could be
Okay.
anywhere, we could set something up, we just need the room.
You just need the
You
water
some space-
service and the space to.
Some
put
space
the equipment.
inside for the equipment.
Right,
yeah.
That'd be the problem, is finding that spot.
and where the equipment inside is basically in our locker room.
Yeah.
Where our
Is
wash
it-
sink is, so
Police and fire station, maybe.
the filtered water, what's
Maybe.
filtered out, the bad,
School?
goes right into the sink.
No.
You really shouldn't have stuff like,
Okay.
sending people on the school
That's
property
true.
and stuff.
Okay, so police.
But I mean,
fire.
police and fire would be an area, at least you could have a service and you'd probably be able to find some room. Cause I don't know if the council on aging, you'd be able to find room to
No.
mount the equipment.
And all it has to
Probably
be
not.
is under the 20, right? It doesn't,
No, and the thing is, it's a treatment unit anyway, so if
Right.
it's
Yeah.
treating stuff.
Reverse osmosis, they call it.
Yeah.
I don't even know, I mean, do we even need the treatment system here? You got water at the
Well,
police station.
the
or
problem
fire
is,
station.
we don't
Temporary.
have that tested. That's
Can
the
we,
problem.
I'm saying, could we test that location?
Um,
Or are we afraid of
if-
change?
If we, to do that, would have to get it tested enough that DEP would consider that another a point. That-
So we
that
gotta probably
becomes-
test it more often then.
Yeah, and that stuff, that's not cheap either,
Right.
getting the tests done, they have, then the guys that have to go out and take the samples, I bet it'd pass. I've got a feeling
I don't
anything
think
this
we're-
side of Main Street.
I think every,
pass.
just about everywhere in town will pass, at the
Yeah.
source, just not at that well.
I live up on Walnut, I would bet money that what's coming out of my tap is exactly what's coming out of Hamlin Street.
Yours is, yeah.
Anything up in that corner.
Oh, yeah.
Up in that neck of the woods, yeah.
But once I'll bet by North Elm, it's gotta be mixed enough to be
Yeah.
complete, to be under the limit, and well under the limit by the time you
Yeah,
get to
you
Main
up
Street.
on Walnut Street, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like up in the dead end corner past the Manly
See, that's
Street
the area-
Wells, so I get it all.
That's the area that's getting,
That's the test subject for people.
Yeah. Well,
You
since,
look wonderful.
it used to be nice dark hair.
The
But
other thing,
the thing on, to go on there, like that bit about the
Restaurants.
the lifetime exposure stuff, which is why, like, the restaurants in particular is not considered such a big deal, is the lifetime exposure is 2 liters a day for 70 years
okay.
for an increased risk. It doesn't say you're gonna get cancer and like some of the stuff, like it can raise your cholesterol, I think,
Yeah.
but it's a long-term thing. So nobody's going to one of the restaurants up on West Center Street and drinking 2 liters of water a day
For 70.
for that kind of lifetime.
Right.
But like, when they mention like the daycare, because there's a daycare right on Manley Street
Yeah.
between my house and there, I mean, that's something, and Wayne is talking to DP to try to find out what, anything particular to do.
The other thing
on
I mentioned to Rick about, but I guess it's not an option, which is too bad, Braintree put in some filtration and removed all their PFAS.
Where?
Charcoal filters,
Well, we're looking at that, that's,
we're looking
Yeah,
at that
yeah.
now.
Yeah.
that was like 600, but I thought you said we couldn't do it because they are using groundwater and we're using well water.
Oh, no.
Oh, I misunderstood.
Well, you said, look at Braintree, what Braintree's doing, I said, you can't just look at another town, because if they're using surface water, we're using well water,
Oh,
and the engineers have to do pilot studies and figure out what treatment's gonna work, then they have to present that to DEP, and then
Yeah.
DEP says whether we could do it or not. They may say, no, we don't want that. See, the other thing is, a lot of towns are just starting to treat for this stuff, and it's kinda like all experimental, what's gonna work best. And the engineers are gonna charge the towns who are doing the engineering first, the most, because once they learn what works and what doesn't work, it's not gonna cost as much
right.
than the next couple towns, you know what I mean?
trust me, they charge the same going forward. That's not how they figure out their.
Well,
But sometimes with something like this.
But
it's
we're
different.
already in the middle of this,
Okay.
remember? We
We already started this a long
back
time
with
ago.
the engineers. They've already done what they call bench scale things, because carbon, they decided for us up there, isn't gonna work because it's gonna get burnt up too fast because of the type of PFAS that's in there, because there's 6 different PFAS.
Yeah, right.
So they were settling on a couple of different of the resin type things, and that's what they're gonna propose to DEP for a pilot. But we're probably, we wouldn't even have started sampling yet, and we've been sampling this, this whole time. So we're actually ahead of the game, and that would be the permanent solution.
Because we started sampling before you had to start sampling. That's why we met with, when David got the notice from DEP about it, and we could get free sampling, or if we waited like 6 more months, we weren't required to do it when we did it. So they said, but if you volunteer now, we'll pay for it. So we said, well, we gotta do it in 6 months anyways, let's do it now and get our testing paid for. So we were doing pretty good. We were under, but not by much. And then as we continued to test, we watched the number climb up. And then we finally failed, but these stations are really, really low. Now that's interesting to me, because I can't figure out why we're so low here and we're so high up there. They say, I asked DEP when we talked to them, where's it coming from? They said mostly from septic, from washing your clothes. That's where a lot of it's coming from, unless you've got like a military base where they use a lot of foam or something. Well, we don't have anything like that around here. We don't have any airports or anything. So I was thinking more on the septic systems, but maybe it has something to do with Brockton and the river that comes down through Manley Street there,
It comes
comes by
down
our
through their
well.
old sewer beds and everything.
Yeah, the old sewer beds.
or
Would
the
the
highway.
GIS person be able to diagram all that for you?
Well, but I don't think, the problem is where the water gets in, because the wells over there are below a confining layer, so where the water, that source could be a long distance away. Because once it's in the water, it travels with the
Yeah.
water. It'd be nothing close by to the wells. That would-
And the other thing is, that we found over the years that when you start the iron removal plant up there, and we took it offline for like a week, and then we put it back online, it took days, weeks to get it straightened back out again, to get these, once the media seems to work, it works every day and it works well. I don't know if it's a bacteria in it or whatever, but when it just sits, and then you try to turn it on, you don't get the same results that you got the week before, and you're like, what the heck changed, you know? And so we try to run it some every day, but now that it's got the contaminant in it, we need the water, so we
Yeah.
have to run it, but
Well, what Elle showed there with what Randolph has, you know, if you can put something like that in a more convenient location.
No, it's definitely something to
That would be
consider.
great.
You know, again, that was, what can we do, we have a problem, we don't wanna be in violation with DEP, and Wayne's been kinda busting his tail to stay out of it. So something we could do quick, get it done, not have to bid it out, not have to go anywhere. So
Yeah.
at least it's in compliance, and if there's a better way, is another, something, especially if there's money available. You know.
It's a reimbursement program versus a grant.
But
So-
you pay it, but you get it, it's not a loan that they
Right.
pay back,
Sounds-
you get the money back.
You get the money back, Randolph's already doing it, so I would say speak with them, because we all know it means dotting your i's and crossing your t's if you expect to get reimbursed, so. Whomever is filling out that paperwork, Carrie?
No, she just left.
She just left. You know, we'll want to probably touching base with someone in Randolph and understanding the process. I mean, just like we went through with a lot of the COVID funds we received. We learned best practices the more we did it.
I'm surprised that Braintree spent the money they did on the PFAS
Yeah,
filtration system.
yeah.
Because Randolph, Braintree, and Holbrook share a water system, and they're in the process of breaking ground on a new treatment plant
Yeah.
for
Well, I
all
think-
three towns, so.
But they had no other, I mean, that was their sole source, right? That has the problem, it's not like
That
that.
I'm not 100%.
See, I don't
what
think,
happened.
in our case, we have one, well, we have the other ones,
Right.
you know, we can, once the demands go down, Manley Street can come off for at least a portion of the time.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Randolph, Holbrook, and Braintree are all, not Randolph,
No, Randolph,
Randolph,
Holbrook, Braintree
Randolph.
all combined.
I'm pretty sure they have like the one.
They were all combined water system?
Yes.
Randolph, Braintree,
Holbrook and
Holbrook,
Braintree, yep.
all combined.
Yep.
One
Braintree
water.
spent, what, 650,000, I
Yeah,
think it
something
was on the
like
filtration
Six
system.
hundred 650,000? That doesn't sound like a lot.
I didn't sound like a lot to me, that's why when I heard
But
about it, I told
Unless
Rick
that's
about
just,
it.
unless they do have a different source, and
I
it's
don't
just
know, it
one
said-
small one.
It said they eradicated the
So they
the
do have other
PFAS.
reservoirs that they pump out of as
Okay.
well.
Um,
And where our treatment plant on Pond Street is, across the reservoir is Braintree's treatment plant.
find it. If you just,
Oh,
But they're all
What'd you say,
tied in,
50,000?
they're all tied in together, it's
She
weird.
said 600.
It's
But they
weird.
all treat their water separately?
Braintree treats theirs on their side, Randolph and Holbrook's on the Randolph side.
Okay.
There's a
So-
But they're
joint,
all tied together?
there's a joint water board and there's a tri-water board.
so they completed it, it looks like in April 2021, I think it was something they started in like May of 2020 roughly. And I know I saw they were at 24.5 parts per trillion. And they have removed it, I wanna say it said completely.
Well, no, those treatment, whether it's the carbon or the resins that we're looking at,
Yeah,
it takes, whatever goes through those units, it takes it all out.
yeah, it was $693,020 to accomplish it.
Did it say,
How much?
did it say,
How much?
$693,020.
did it
You
say
can't go
how
into
many
the plant.
gallons a
What they
day
do,
it
they
is?
must
That's
have-
pretty cheap.
Well, it's
They must have-
Braintree,
They must have
so-
retrofitted an existing treatment
No, they
plant.
did is
Yeah.
they installed activated carbon, let's see, initially they installed it on one filter as part of the pilot program. I mean, all the, you guys,
Yeah.
Who's
I
the
don't need to
engineer?
read you a bedtime
We-
story.
Well, no, I was just curious how big it
Beta.
is.
Yeah.
Because those things
Beta.
tend to run.
BETA,
How do you spell it?
BE.
Beta.
Oh, Beta, B-E-T-A?
Yep,
Yeah,
Beta Engineering is the engineer for,
Randolph,
water?
Yep.
Randolph Water?
I'm just looking quick to see if I see how many gallons, but
I'm just curious if it's similar in size though, because again, we use Tater and Howard, they've come
Right.
back already and said the carbon for us would burn it out too fast. But we're also looking at an interim where we have an empty filter tank. They built us with 3, we only use 2.
Yeah.
Taking that third one, putting the media in and running water, through that.
Yeah.
They said the carbon would you'd use it up too fast, but the other stuff would last like 10 times longer or something.
The
Of
new
course, it
treat-
costs more money.
the new treatment plant they're looking to do is about 38.
Million.
Yeah.
so this was a pilot
For all
program.
three towns?
But
All three, for all
all
three
three
towns?
towns,
Yeah, but
yeah.
that's nothing with the amount of population they got
Holbrook,
there.
Holbrook,
It's never nothing.
Huh?
It's never nothing.
No, but I mean,
Yeah.
spread that out over the population of Braintree, Holbrook, and Randolph?
Holbrook pays the cheapest amount, I think they pay like 17.5%.
What's the population of Holbrook? Or Randolph, you know?
Randolph's,
A lot bigger than us.
Randolph's 38,000.
38,000,
Yeah.
that's a huge difference.
Huge,
So-
huge difference.
Art, I'm not seeing.
Never mind Braintree.
I was just curious on it.
Braintree's a city.
What's the population of Braintree?
Wayne can touch
We
base.
gotta be
with
100,000.
them
Gotta
and
be.
Gotta be
Gotta be
100,000.
more.
Data
Well,
from
but
that.
again, that's the kind of thing, it said it through the pilot, that's because you have to go through pilot and get DEP approval to
Right.
do, and we're in that process
Right.
already.
Right, that might be.
We're already, we are already doing all this stuff, the engineers are already working on it, but you can't build anything
Can't
until
just go like
Right,
that.
right,
DEP approves it.
yeah.
And another thing is, we don't wanna build the wrong thing, you spend all that money and then find out it doesn't work.
Let's do it right the first time.
And then you end up saying he did it.
Right.
Notice you're the one that was pointing.
As a side note, other than PFAS, and I'm not telling you what to do, so no one take it that way. But you might wanna reconsider your vote on the vacation time, because for Wayne, he requested 18 days, but the personnel bylaw is 10. And I don't know what's in his contract, so maybe it's something you want to rescind and table and talk to the HR director and see what your
I think our
options are
thinking,
there.
on it was, with all this stuff going on, that that we're trying to keep him on top of this, this problem. We don't want him taking, because he'll just take the vacation if we need him around here, so we'd much rather
I
carry
hear
it.
what you're thinking,
You're saying we might be violating something off of
I'm
that.
just making a suggestion. You make your own decisions, I'm just letting you know what's there, and that you have a HR director.
So
You
he
can go
might
to the
just end up
consultant.
taking another week when we need him around here, that's,
Well, you have an HR, we're paying her to be an HR director. I am not an HR director. All I'm saying is you have that option. I let you know, you make your own decision.
but we don't have that in his contract. That's not in his contract, is it? That's in the union
I
contract.
would talk to the HR, if it were me, and I know we have a personnel bylaw, and you just approved 18 days, and the personnel bylaw has 10, and you don't have any other information. If it were me, I would go to the HR director and say, this is what I have, what are my options? And then make a decision on it. Because I don't know everything about administering HR. And I don't memorize the personnel bylaw. So I rely on
I didn't
professionals
know
to
we had a
guide me.
personnel bylaw, so that puts you ahead of me still.
Well, what do you wanna do on that, Tom? Because I think if we deny him, he's just gonna take the week off and won't be around, we won't get these things covered. Then we may not be ready for next meeting.
We should probably review the bylaw anyway and know what it says, but.
Well,
Well, if even she's right, it's not gonna work for us, you know? That's the problem. You could say, no, you can't take him, and then he takes a vacation, and who does that hurt? Not him, he's on vacation, it's gonna hurt us, we're not gonna get the work done.
Well, I mean, I'm not trying to be mean to anyone here, but with everything that's been going on, I guess I would have been thinking about vacation in May when it was a little more peaceful in West Bridgewater,
it's never peaceful in West
Yeah.
Bridgewater.
so.
And we could modify that vote, approve as 10, rescind the other until we get a chance to talk to Linda and take it up at the next meeting. So he knows we're not just telling him he's not gonna carry anything over. And if, as long as we're not violating something that's gonna cause a problem, we'll do it. Cause I mean, I'm in favor of giving it to him and keeping his butt in a chair in here. But just in case we violate something that screws up with the bylaws, whatever's, whatever the regulations are. So he doesn't think we're saying,
How
well,
long does he have, what is the date that he had to use it by?
October 20, it's,
When does,
This month, Carrie?
it's next week, I think.
No.
Well, I mean, he's asking you this week about 18
brought-
days.
No, we talked about
No, he brought it up.
he brought it up
Right,
last week,
right.
but it wasn't on the agenda, we couldn't vote on it.
Okay,
we had already discussed it. We had already discussed it last meeting, we couldn't take a vote, it wasn't on the agenda.
do you want me to make a quick phone call and see if I can get some information? I don't mind.
When's his anniversary date? Did you see it, Victoria?
October 31st.
Well, that's pretty soon.
And is that what it's based on, is the
That's the day
anniversary
before
date,
the
not
next-
contract date?
Right.
Yeah.
That's, yeah, because that's the day before our next meeting, right?
So he'd have to take 8 days before then, and that's just about all the time from here to then.
Alright, hold on a minute.
We tried.
We got an extension of it off on our vacation time because of COVID.
Well,
We were
I
able-
can't get you an answer, but again, unfortunately, I can't get anyone on the phone. I go back to, he's had, 10 other months to figure out his anniversaries in 1 month. And he certainly wasn't gonna take off 18 days in October. But you do what you need to do.
I mean, I don't know, I'm not sure how the employee bylaws affect us as this water department being a separate entity. Or does it affect us the same as, or do we choose to go along with
When I
it?
have questions, I go to the HR director because, we're dealing with so many different contracts, union,
Yeah.
non-union, department heads versus,
And it's gonna be decided
employees.
within 2 weeks.
so. I
I
just,
think-
I heard you
Yeah.
vote on it,
I
and I
think,
couldn't sit here and not
No, that's
say
fine,
anything.
I think with everything going on, let's leave it the way it is at this point. What's our other option? If you wait till the next meeting,
Well, if you're
We'd
giving
have to
them
do
10 days, That means he would be taking 8 days off.
which would still take him out to the, basically, pretty close to the anniversary. Be take by the time the next meeting comes up.
We're at a pinch point here, it's like, what do you do? I mean,
Never like when
He's
anyone
just
lays
looking to
something
carry
on
it?
me at the
Yeah,
last
just
minute.
looking to
Just
carry
looking to
it?
carry,
yeah, still gonna
Yeah.
carry him, yeah.
unless we.
Yeah, he just wants to carry him over till next year.
We have a personal bylaw that's 10 days, and, you know, because we want to be fair to everyone, and not have a,
Well,
This
let's
one
put it
gets
this way, if
18,
it is
this
10
one gets
days, we're gonna
20.
talk to them, and next year, we're not gonna do this. But with everything that's going on with PFAS, and I'd say at this point, we leave it like.
We
it
gotta
is.
keep the communication with DEP and everything else going. I think the town just should look the other way and get the work done.
The only other thing, would have to call a special meeting between now and the next meeting, like by the time you
but
post
what I
it
would say,
next week.
is if you
It would have
do
to be-
this, the employee should clearly understand that don't give me 1 month's notice in the future. You know during the course of the 11 months, how life's going.
Well, to be fair, he did have some life-changing stuff just went on
Yeah.
too.
Right, but I
So-
mean,
But that, yeah,
I
that's,
know what, you know
I
where,
know, I know.
okay.
I say we leave it like it is, we'll have a discussion, that we don't do this again
And
next
if,
year. that's
yeah,
all.
and if it causes us a problem, we'll deal with it then.
No, we'll-
Because again, otherwise, we don't really have the time to be able
No,
to.
it's not gonna work unless we meet tomorrow.
We can't, we'd have to post
You
it.
gotta post it.
We'd have to
Right.
post the meeting, put out an agenda item on it,
Yeah, I mean,
and we wouldn't be able to do it probably till next week.
and unfortunately, I can't get you an answer as to whether this is,
Oh, we'll find out.
you will find
Yeah,
out,
well,
definitely.
Exactly.
Yeah. But that's why anything like this, and what I would recommend to you as well, whenever you're faced with something like this, utilize Linda. She is
Well,
there for everyone.
Honestly, if we realized the 10-day thing, we didn't know the 10-day thing was in there, so
Yeah.
we didn't have any reason to think about it.
We didn't, I never thought that we couldn't carry over the 18 days. What did we discuss the last meeting? I didn't think that was an issue.
The 10 days has been around for a while, and we've adhered to it.
What we
It's
could do is do what you guys do with David Gagney, let him buy him back.
I think
We'll
others
pay
do
for
that as well. In his position throughout the country, that's a very,
Yeah.
very common benefit in their contract. I mean, if you want a professional person, and quite frankly, I think we are getting our money's worth with David Gagney. He's helped you out how many times, Rick? Numerous times with questions on when things have come up. And I'm sure each and every time he'll be there to
Well,
help.
that's his job, that's
Right.
what he's there
And
for.
that's why I'm here tonight, because I wasn't understanding your job. Or at least I wasn't seeing it get done completely. But I feel better now. Thank you, Art and Tom.
So,
As long as you feel better.
so what do you think? Just tell him,
On the 18 days,
yeah.
I think we're just gonna leave it at this point. I don't know, how, we can't do anything else, right? What are you gonna do?
Yeah, I mean, we can't if we don't do it as of tonight, and he starts using the time.
Or if he doesn't carry it over, we could always pay him for it, right? Just buy it back. Pay him for the week, whatever it is, 2 weeks.
Is that,
Or you could, in the
8
alternative,
days, we can pay him for the 8
you
days.
could provide the 10, right? And take the other 8 under advisement, reach out to Linda tomorrow, get an answer, and call a 15-minute open meeting to deal with it. You don't have to have a full agenda.
We don't have to advertise the meeting?
You
no,
said you'd have to advertise
So the meeting
it?
would be next week sometime.
Yeah, but you could do, plan a 15-minute meeting. You all live fairly close.
But then he wouldn't have, if he had to take the vacation time, he wouldn't have time to take it.
Although sometimes there's penalties for waiting.
Well, yeah, actually, you'd have to like leave that minute and take those days, but
But at
at
least
that time, we could give him we could tell him, look, we can't do it because you can only take, if there's a reason, you can only take the 10, and then we'd be able to.
Can we pay him?
I am not,
I
I don't
would think-
manage HR, Rick.
Yeah.
I don't, I let the
I wouldn't
professionals
think that would
do their
even be
job.
up to her. I would think that's more of a financial
Oh, the money's there, money's not the issue. It's, we try to,
No,
try to be
money isn't there.
consistent.
We only budget so much for that position.
right, but if you're going to pay people vacation or you're gonna pay people for working, it's still the same check.
No, it isn't.
There's 52 weeks in a year, you pay them for 52 weeks, aren't you? So what
Yeah,
are you saying?
no, but he's getting paid, he's getting an extra week's pay. When you buy him out,
Yeah.
when you buy that week out, it's an
Oh,
extra
you're gonna
week's
give them an
pay.
extra week's
Listen,
pay. You know, rather than sitting here speculating, why don't you just table it? You know, give them the 8, table it and talk to Linda. Maybe it's completely fine.
Give them 10, I mean.
Huh, give them the, thank you, Tom.
The
Give them the 10, talk to Linda, get comfortable with what the answer is from someone who, this is her area of work. You post it, have a 10-minute meeting, make your decision, and it's done.
And then if it works out, we have to, we'll pay them the 8 days. Is that right? Is that what
And you
you're
can
saying?
talk to her about
that's
what
what I'm
your,
thinking.
you can talk to her about what your alternatives are.
Yeah.
You know, I just, like I said, we hired her to do this job because none of us here are HR experts and none of us have the time to memorize the bylaws, understand all the contracts. So we got a professional.
Keep things consistent. Makes sense.
Town of 7,000 has an HR director. Town of 36,000 does not.
I bet you have someone who's
Not
very,
even close.
well then,
Not even,
I would love to look at your litigation sheet.
not even close.
There's a lot of litigation, you know, HR is something you wanna be knowledgeable of.
That's why big companies have HR
Right.
departments.
Small companies too. You know, it's very complex, employees' rights, and then this town has so many different contracts too. So it just makes sense.
So do we want to amend our, decision on that?
Give them the 10 and follow up on the 8.
Follow up
Next-
on the 8, we'll
next
deal with
week.
that when we get our answer.
Could do that.
Rick?
Yeah,
I'll make a motion that we check with Linda. How do I amend
Well,
the?
we have to, we can't amend what we already voted on. We have
we have
first
to,
I'll make a motion to rescind the vote to carry over 18 days.
I'll second it.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Alright. I'll make a motion that we vote, that we allow Wayne to carry over 10 days and check with Linda on the other 8. When we get the answer, we'll deal with the other 8.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye.
Sorry to complicate your night.
Really? You look like you're having a lot of fun. You're enjoying
No,
this.
I didn't, like I said, I heard
No,
it.
it's good to hear, because again, that was not,
Yeah.
that 10 days was not
Yeah.
in our,
And I did check to make sure that the 10 days, I was right on that number, and it was just fuzzy as to whether or not, with the contract, separate entity, personnel bylaws, I said, you know what, I just don't want them to go any further without at least hearing they might have an issue.
now, who's gonna call Linda?
I can call
Chairman?
Linda.
Oh, you wanna call Linda?
You want me to call, are you gonna call
I
her,
can
Kerry?
call her in the morning.
Alright. Call her, want to ask her, let us know.
Yep.
And we'll just,
And then, we'll, if we have to, we'll have to schedule a meeting. So if she says, no, he can't take it, we can't carry it over the other 8 days, we'll have to get together to decide whether we're gonna pay him or he's gonna go on vacation.
well, you said, it'd be a one agenda item meeting and, you know, quick, and that, by the time, the soonest it could probably be would be Monday.
You could probably
No,
advertise it.
it's only 48 hours, so if I get my answer from Linda and post it tomorrow, it technically could be Thursday. Like, if I post it at 11, it could be Thursday at 11, you know,
Okay,
or, you know.
let's shoot for that.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be at 11, it just has to be 48 hours of, like, working business days, of, like, you know.
Right.
And there's still, I don't know the whole law around it, but there are still some allowances under COVID to have a Zoom meeting or something like that. as long as there's a way for the public to hear or listen. So, I mean, if you were planning a vacation, and you were gonna be out of state or something like that, you know, when you needed the forum. there's- I know you're gonna be on Walnut Street, but
Oh, I'm so tired of Zoom meetings as a problem. I spent so much time on those things,
well, thanks for your time. Have a good night.
You want his
Thank you,
number,
you too.
you want his number, Randall?
The what?
Superintendent's number, Randall?
Sure.
Yeah, why don't we, can you
Yeah,
give
that's,
it to Carrie?
that's the name to give to Kerry, right?
Chris Pelletier,
I just-
7, PELLITIDR, 71-961-0940.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Very good, thanks.
For the information.
No problem.
Next meeting,
November first, you said, right?
yep,
Unless we call another one in the meantime.
Well,
right,
it might be sooner.
I'll let you know tomorrow.
Okay. Make sure I have the next one on
Okay, anything else, you guys wanna bring up?
there. I think we pretty much went through everything tonight.
Well, at least we got something, a little bit accomplished on this, Lincoln Street tonight. We got somebody maybe wanna come in and talk to us and give us more information on it, so we got something accomplished on
Who's
that.
gonna follow up with town hall and see why we're not getting the site plans on these, projects going to site plan review?
Do you see Hugh Hurley at all?
But it's not,
It's not.
it's not him, it's gotta be the building inspector.
It's whoever distributes them.
Right,
When there's a project, they turn in 17 copies and then it gets.
Who do they give them to?
No, that's
Clerk?
again,
Goes to town clerk.
No,
I
well,
can
that's
find
what
out.
Larry was just saying.
They
It
get
goes to the
stamped in by
building-
the town
But
clerk
it,
though.
but it goes from them right to the building department, he distributes them.
I can call the building inspector, or I can put a.
Yeah, would you
Yeah.
carry, we gotta find out why we're not getting these plans, because we should have had the original, we're like a day late and a dollar short here, trying to figure this out now.
Yeah,
We should have, because we should have put comments into the planning board, way back.
Yeah, but if we don't know that they have it out.
I didn't even know they were looking at them. If you don't get the plan, you don't know.
We should get every
what's
set
going
of
on.
plan, and that's how, I know there's supposed to be 17, I think, copies, and the police, the fire, everybody gets a set.
See, I think, too, what happens is, it seems like when we move down here, they just forget about us.
Well, I know we've gotten them other times,
Yeah,
sometimes we
well,
don't.
sometimes we get them.
Maybe it's,
To me, it depends on if it's somebody that they know about it, they make sure we get a copy.
I don't think anybody's doing it on purpose, I think it's just, it's just, somebody's not doing it, I don't know.
Like we said, they forget about us. Down
There's
here.
probably
We're down here in the hole.
10 copies
I know,
sitting
it's
somewhere
down
that didn't
here.
get distributed. You know, police gets it, fire gets it, they all
Yeah.
comment on traffic and.
All right, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Bye.